All right, guys. So I am here to talk to you about my new journey in life, which is using plant-based medicine. I know a lot of people out there think it's cultish, it's crazy, it's this hippie bullshit. And believe me, I was part of that crew that thought that way. So I am very fortunate in my life in so many different ways, but one of them is having amazing people in my life. And my clients are some of the leaders in the world in plant-based medicine. The wife, Brandy, her and her ex-husband, Gerard, founded Rhythmia Life Enhancement Center in Costa Rica. And Rhythmia is known as like the #1 ayahuasca retreat in the world. It's all legal there. So that's her background. That's their background. And her new husband, who's one of my clients, that's actually how they met. They met at a ceremony. So they have connections with the best shamans in the entire world and have helped so many people. And through my time with them, you know, I would meet all these people that had overcome major addiction, drug addiction, meth, heroin, PTSD, suicidal ideologies, saved marriages, everything. And actually, last winter, around this time, they were going to send Stephanie and I to Rhythmia for free, so that we could hopefully try to work on our marriage. And Steph was just very afraid to let go. She didn't want to try it. I was reluctant myself, but I figured, why not? You know, why not exhaust all possibilities to try to better your life, you know, be a better person and carry on better relationships. So it fell through. And then, obviously when the divorce happened, I was destroyed. I have no problem admitting it. I was, you know, totally blindsided in a way and very broken. And you're going to hear about why, because of some revelations over the past few weeks that go back to my childhood that have opened my eyes. So my first journey down with plant-based medicine, my client got me some mushrooms and told me just a microdose of mushrooms. Didn't really work well with me, you know, microdosing on them. It actually kind of gave me some like anxiety, and it's common to happen to some people. It doesn't respond well with everybody. So I'm not really a huge fan of mushrooms. But they hooked me up with this shaman who is very well known in Malibu, and I was in so much pain every day that she did this energy movement ceremony with me. So I went to her house on a Sunday morning, and she gave me 0.5 grams of mushroom in a pill. It's a certain type that opens you up a little bit, opens your heart up a little bit. And so for you those unfamiliar, I was microdosing about 1 gram to 1.25 grams a day. So 0.5 grams isn't much. And she went through this whole ritual with me, like crazy, blowing tobacco on me, beating all these drums around me, trying to move out some of that negative energy and really open me up a little bit. So through that journey, that day, it was about a 4-hour long experience. I cried a ton and you know, faced some of the demons that I've had in my life. But when I got out of there, it was truly a 180, like a total 180 in how I felt. I didn't feel broken anymore. I actually ran into Steph that night. I came home. She was meeting someone here for me because I didn't know what time I was going to be back. And I ran into her, and I didn't have that gut-wrenching feeling like I normally would have. So it helped a ton. And through that, we were entering a phase in the world called Lionsgate. And I had like 2.5 days to manifest everything I wanted out in my life. So I literally wrote down everything. So I want you to write down where you want your house to be, what you want it to look like, what you want your tiles to look like, what kind of wife you want, what do you want her involved in, you know, what you want your kids to be like, what you want them involvement in. Write everything down. So I wrote everything down. And then I was doing pretty good for a while. And then some things went down that kind of set me back a lot. And right about that time, my clients were trying to help their brother who was dealing with major addiction. And so they had flown in some of their good friends who were shamans to do some ayahuasca with them. And so I got invited along with ceremony. So my first real deep ceremony was in August, and it was put on by the Santo Daime. Now, Santo Daime is a Brazilian church and doctrine in Christianity that uses ayahuasca, the medicine, to help heal people. And they are actually the only group in the U.S. at the moment that can legally use ayahuasca under the Freedoms of Religious Act. So we had these head figures from the Santo Daime come to their house, and they set up a whole ceremony. And this one was, you drink this tea, the ayahuasca tea, and ayahuasca is made from the vine and a root of two different plants found in the jungle. Ayahuasca is based out of like Peru, South Africa region, and it's considered the biggest teaching medicine. So the story goes, many moons ago, there was an ancient civilization that was highly intelligent that lived here, and they had to leave. They couldn't be here anymore. And so the theory is that they left the world of answers within all these different plants and all these different medicines. So all these different plants throughout the world that just growing randomly in jungles and forests contain information and knowledge for us to better enhance our lives. So ayahuasca, again, one of the strongest plant-based medicines out there. Iboga is probably the strongest. Iboga is considered the grandfather, but it's a very rough ride. Ayahuasca is the mother. So I sat down, I drank this tea, and next thing I know, my client's brother's next to me, and he starts going, "Ooh, the colors. Oh my God, holy shit. Look at these, this is crazy." And I'm sitting there like, I don't fucking see anything. What the hell? Like, I'm getting kind of aggravated. So my client's next to me, he's like, "Just relax, you probably need more." So I drank a little more tea, and all of a sudden, boom, it hit. And it was the craziest experience you could ever imagine. It was this geometric, kaleidoscopic movement of shapes and colors, and you kind of can see like faces and serpents coming out of it, and your body just starts vibrating, and it's like you vibrate into this existence. This is what exists. There is no life form, there's no matter. It's just you are part of this energy. And they're singing music, singing songs and playing music along with it, and everything moves to the music. Plant-based medicine is very much driven through music. So some of the craziest visuals you could ever imagine in your entire life. And the medicine shows you what it wants to show you. So if you have questions for it, you kind of put it out there, but allow it to kind of take its course. And what it will do is it'll open up some memories from your childhood, from your past. Sometimes it can open up some really dark stuff that kind of led you to respond and operate a certain way. Sometimes it might give you answers to what you're supposed to do in the future in your life. You never know what each experience is going to happen, but through mine, it was more just a really intense visual at first, and then I started having these like visions, experiences, thoughts. It's really hard to explain really what it is, and I'm going to touch base on those in a little bit because it was congruent through all my experience. Well, through most of my experiences that I had later. So purging is part of it. And by purging, I mean puking your brains out or shitting yourself. But it's different. It's not like a purge like you're drunk, you're hungover and you're throwing up or you have food sickness. It's a purge of negative energy. It's a purge of hate and anger and self-doubt. So I remember getting really nauseous, and I'm sitting around the table, and everybody has their own little puke buckets, but like, I don't know, I'm kind of a quiet, private person. I don't want to puke in front of fucking 12 people I don't know. So I went outside, and I sat out there in a chair, and one of the shamans, she was a sweetheart, and she came out and sat down with me. She was dealing with her own pain. They actually, crazy enough, they flew her in to help the brother with his addiction, and then her son ended up committing suicide a week after her being there. So they actually flew in these people, the Santo Daime, to help her and him at the same time, because she was going through her world of hurt. But even with everything she went through, she came out and tried to make sure and try to take care of me. And I just remember her sitting there just being like, just let it out, baby. She's like, just let out all that hate, let out all that hurt, all that anger, just let it all out. And then the next thing you know, I just start purging. And I'm talking like purging. I'm puking and screaming at the same time, like the loudest sounds possible. Stuff, it was like bile coming out of my fucking toes. And I just kept puking and puking and puking. I couldn't catch my breath. And I thought to myself, fuck, I'm gonna die. Like, I literally thought I was gonna die because I could not catch my breath because I was puking so hard. And I was like, maybe I overdosed because, you know, I drank 2 cups and it wasn't really working. So I drank 2 more cups. My client thought that I was a really high metabolizer, that I might need it. So I'm like freaking out. I'm like, fuck, did I overdose? Like, what do I do? You know, all this, it was probably a split second, but it felt like eternity. And then it stopped. And no more nausea. And I just got the most overwhelming sense of love and gratitude and gratefulness. And I just remember just sitting there, like, literally barely even wiping the puke off my mouth, and just, I've never felt such a strong, profound feeling in my entire life of just love and gratitude. I walked in the house, my client was sitting there singing with everybody else, and I just came up to him, gave him a big hug. And I went down and I laid on the floor. They had mats laid out, and his attack dog, this very highly trained dog that he has, she came right up to me and curled up in a ball and was just next to me. And I felt like my dog's souls were speaking through her, telling me that they forgave me for not putting enough love and attention into them. It was really weird. But just laying there with just the biggest smile on my face, listening to this music, just enjoying this crazy visual aspect that was going on. Then you come out of it and you're kind of like a little airy headed, but you're kind of energetic. And so we went, we sat around the house and just ate a bunch of food and just shot the shit and talked about our experience a little bit. And then the next night, it was a 2-night ceremony. I went back, and the next night was tough. I couldn't get into it. I kept drinking and drinking and drinking, and I couldn't drop in, and I was kind of getting frustrated. I'd be in and out, fluttering in and out, and some crazy shit was going on. The brother who has the addiction, literally they say was possessed with an evil spirit, and like the spirit came out and tried to attack the dog, and the dog almost fucking attacked the brother, and then the brother runs off through the woods, and he was just talking like insanely, and all the shamans said they could see the evil spirit within him. So that was really distracting, and it was really hard to get into it. But I did drop in a little bit, and I did have some visions and some experiences like I talked about. And then when the ceremony ended, that's when it really started kicking into me. Next thing I know, I start feeling nauseous, and everything's coming in, and I'm like, and everybody's just cooking and shooting the shit. I'm like, I don't want to do this right now. So I end up like getting up, and I'm like jumping around, trying to move. I feel like I'm going to throw up, but I'm like forcing myself to eat to hopefully absorb the chemicals so it would just go away and end faster. So I walked away from, really only getting into it deep one night. But I did have some of the visions that second night as well. And then fast forward, that love and gratitude feeling stayed for a long time, weeks and weeks and weeks on end. I definitely felt like I was coping with life a lot better, a lot more uplifted. And then they gave me a chocolate DMT bar, and me and my roommate Josh decided to do the DMT bar one night. And that was like a 2.5 hour long experience. And that was a really good drop into that same realm. Not as intense as the ayahuasca, but again, I had these same visions, these same experiences, whatever it may be, all 3 times, all the same thing. The first one I'm going to talk about kind of makes sense. But I had a purpose, a calling in my life to take other people's pain, to bear the burden of their pain. That I have the capability of taking a lot of pain myself, whether it be physical, emotional, and I'm here to take that from other people so that they can live their lives more freely. And more specifically, it had to do with Mike Tyson. And as you guys know, Mike deals with a lot of his internal struggles, and he's been very open about his, his battle with mental wealth, and mental health and wellness. So it kind of gave me a reflection, and it was, did it have to do with the newbie? Did it have to do with me getting him ready for his fight? I don't know. It was hard to tell, but definitely it was based off an emotional response that was there to take emotional pain away. So this other crazy vision, that I am how do I pronounce it? I'm a wizard. So my client's good friend is a ex-CIA agent, like crazy special ops type stuff. And he's a grandmaster wizard apparently. And all 3 times I had the same vision that these elves, and the elves are supposed to be considered kind of like the creators of the universe in this world. These elves brought me into this secret group of guys to be protectors, to be warriors of some sort. I didn't really get a lot of explanation into it, but there was Stubbs, my client's friend, all 3 times. And the third one, I can't remember for the life of me. It literally just slipped my mind last week what the third vision was, but it was literally the same vision all 3 times. So that's kind of profound that I had those same thoughts and those same ideologies through all 3 different experiences. So then we fast tracked to last week. Mike finished up his fight, and as you guys saw, Mike looked amazing. They called it a draw, but he won hands down. Physically looked great. It was just a huge relief for Mike, and so much positive energy for him to move forward. So I decided that I wanted to be more proactive in this whole journey of mine. So I asked my clients, I was like, listen, I want to do this work for myself. Who do I go to? What should I do next? And they mentioned a good friend of theirs who actually did ceremony at their wedding. They actually met at one of her ceremonies. They actually got pregnant at one of her ceremonies. She's one of the top shamans in the world, works with some of the most powerful figures in the world. If I drop names, you'd be like, no fucking way. But a lot of people out there do this shit. They don't talk about it, So I went to New Mexico for a week. Just got back the other day. And I went to her place, and I was joined along with my buddy Damien's, one of his friends growing up, who's also dealing with a really terrible divorce. The reason why I brought other people with me is because they told me it was going to be one price, and then I found out that it was going to be like fucking 10 grand for me to go away for 4 days. So I had to find some people to help alleviate that cost a little bit. So this guy Josh, who I met, just through phone calls through Damien, he had been thinking about plant-based medicine, and literally it was just going through one of the worst days that he's had in a long time when Damien called him about it, and it was just like it was meant to be. So he drove down and met me down there, and then so we did all 4 nights together. And then my other friends Rob and Mandy, who have already done some plant-based medicine stuff in the past, and they just went through a really rough loss. They've been trying to get pregnant for 2 years now, and they got pregnant, and she lost her baby this July. So they're going through a really tough time too, and they needed the help. So I reached out to them to see if they were interested in going. So they came out and did the final 3 days with us. So we go to New Mexico. We're on this cute little Abuelu type home ranch in the middle of the woods, and to start my second journey. And I went in with really no intentions. I just wanted to let the medicine kind of do its work. So the first night was heart openers, she called it. So basically MDMA is derived from these plants, sassafras and kanna. So it's a natural version of what MDMA should be like, but without the negative side effects. So as soon as the sun went down, we started to take the pills. And this was just to kind of like open up a little bit and let go of some of that stress that we carry throughout life and open our hearts up a little bit so we can be more receptive to the work that's about to happen. And, again, I'm a rapid metabolizer, so I started feeling a little bit of like euphoria, kind of you feel on Molly, but not strong. So we took some more. And then we switched over to these chocolates, which were mushroom and ayahuasca mix. It's not really that strong, but it's just supposed to bring you in a little bit. And I remember laying there, and that night was just me and Josh and then the two facilitators. And the two women were working on me, getting my body positioned right and just kind of talking me through some things. And in my mind, the whole time, I'm thinking, Josh is going through a really terrible divorce right now, and he's in a lot of pain, and he needs the work more than me. And I actually spoke up, and I was like, why don't you guys go work on Josh? And they're like, why, what's wrong? I was like, he needs it. Like, well, what about you? You're here. And that's one of the things that I do to myself is I can't receive. I can't receive love. I can't receive praise. I hate compliments. I hate gifts. I hate being the center of attention to things. So I was like, wow, that's one of my problems that I deal with in life. And so it kind of opened my eyes to that. So that was kind of the first breakthrough, the first, of the trip. So the ceremony went till about 2 a.m. They made some amazing food for us. We sat around 8, passed out, wake up the next morning, have some breakfast, walk around the property, play with the pups. And then you have a light lunch, and then sunset comes again, and you start all over again. And my friends Rob and Mandy had showed up that night. And again, we started with more of a heart opener, and this time this product called White Lily, again, it kind of creates that MDMA-like feeling. So you start feeling all good and happy, and I'm watching my friends, married couple, kind of warm up to each other and open up, and Josh is over there smiling from ear to ear. And again, the music. So the music facilitator was, wow, just the voice of an angel. I mean, it's so crazy how powerful music is when you start going down this road. So we moved on to a stronger component next, which was called Ma, which is mushrooms and ayahuasca, but it's stronger than that little chocolate the night before. It was like a chocolate tea that she gave me. And, you're supposed to be able to drop into that realm. And I drank, and I sat there, and it wasn't working. So I go up, and I get another cup full, lay back down, try to focus. Just little twitches of lines, nothing crazy. Getting more and more frustrated. So I get up and I get a third cup of tea. And I lay back down. And frustration. I know I'm a high metabolizer, and I had a feeling that this was going to get in my way of being able to drop in and be able to do the work that needs to be done. So, which is what rings true in my life. Frustration led to anger, and then anger used to lead me to want to hurt myself as a kid. Throughout my adult life too. I used to smash my head off walls. I used to bite myself till I bled. I would, I think, probably try to inflict physical pain on myself to distract myself from the mental, psychological pain. Plus, with physical pain, it's something that heals, and psychological pain doesn't sometimes. So, talking to my client this morning, I finally had a recap with him, and he kind of confirmed that he dealt with the same shit. He used to cut himself and everything, and it's just a coping mechanism that we create. But wow. Talk about eye-opening. The fact that the medicine didn't work, wasn't truly working, and it led me to this kind of revelation. So the sound healer facilitator, she could sense that I was really getting in my own head. So she's like, let's go do this experiment. She's like, I have a sense that you have a really strong animal spirit. Like, I get to the property, as soon as I'm pulling on, I see halea, a pig, a boar, running down the middle of the road. I pull up on the property, and there I see some deer. We go for a walk, and I see more deer. I end up seeing a gigantic tarantula walking all over my pillow when I first got there. And there was a couple other instances with animals that they just got this sense that I have a really strong animal spirit. So there's 3 dogs on the property, a mother, her 2 children. The male of the kids has some protective issues and some trust issues. So they keep him tied up just to keep everybody safe. And so she's like, let's go work with Kona for a little bit. So Kona allowed me to put his leash on him and walk him out into the field. Now, mind you, it's like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, 15 degrees. I have a sweatshirt on and a pair of sneakers. I'm freezing my fucking ass off. And we walk to the middle of this horse pasture, and she lets the dog go. And there's coyotes and all this wild animal stuff everywhere. So he's just on full protection mode, like running all over the property, the gated area, trying to protect us, make sure we're safe. And she's like, she starts talking to me, and she's like, look me in the eyes, will you protect me? And I'm like, yeah, of course I'll protect you. She's like, okay. She's like, I feel safe. She's like, do you feel safe? I'm like, I feel safe because I can protect myself. And she's like, do you think Kona feels safe? I'm like, I'm not sure. She's like, I want you to project that you'll keep Kona safe. Let him know. Just think deep down inside. So I'm thinking, and next thing I know, he fucking comes running over and just sits down next to me, just looking at me. It was crazy. So the whole idea of this was the purpose of this night was to find little Brad. All of us have these experiences in life, and the younger version of ourselves becomes scarred and becomes scared and hides. And it's kind of how we lose ourselves throughout life. So it was trying to make little Brad feel comfortable and feel safe so that we could find him and he could kind of guide us to what bothers us. So Kona ran off again, and she wanted me to start internalizing that I feel safe. Not that because I can protect him, not that because Kona can protect me, because there's no imminent threat around. And sure enough, Kona comes running right back and kind of sits next to me. And I don't know why, but I just started getting these visions of being a kid. And a lot of you guys know, so my dad was gay. Him and my parents split before I can even remember. But my dad also, I love him to death and I've forgiven him for all this stuff, but was also a very selfish person and would cancel on picking me up all the time. Unless it involved horses, he took no interest in my life. I love sports. He went to maybe one football game my entire career, and I played all from 3rd grade through post-grad school, through college. Never went to a single basketball game, was never involved in anything in my life unless it was horses. And that was just kind of a big eye-opener that I've spent my entire life just fighting to feel good enough. I felt abandoned by my father, this person that I wanted his love more than anything. And, when he'd cancel on me, I would take it out on my mom. I would fucking go ballistic, yelling at my mom, telling her it's her fault, and everything else. And, so I constantly felt like I was fighting for the love and acceptance of my father. And I carried that chip over into everything else in my life. And it's like, the more I think about it, I can't believe how overwhelmingly true it is that I've never felt like I was good enough. I always feel like I have to be perfect at everything. I have to succeed at everything in order for people to accept me as a human being. And with that, I can't receive love. So I close myself off, and I constantly sacrifice my own happiness for others. You ask anybody, if a client wants to train at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll fucking make it happen. If a client wants to train at 9 p.m., I'll make it happen. I try to always make everybody else happy, and I sacrifice myself. And although it's gotten me so far in life, it really closed me off. The purpose of why I'm accomplishing things is just completely lost, because once you accomplish something, it doesn't mean anything. That's just, it's a continuous cycle, and I catch myself all the time now that I think back, like so many times in my life where I'm like, I'm not worthy of this, like why am I at where I'm at? I don't deserve this, and just having that mentality my whole life, just eating me alive, and it's taken the energy out of me. And so it was a crazy revelation that it finally opened my eyes as to why I am the way I am when it comes to that type of stuff, and then I think about my mom, and my mom was a very loving person, but she never showed pain. She never showed hurt. My mother, don't think I've ever seen my mother cry. No matter what was going on with my dad. My dad owed her all this money and child support and all this shit. And she never once broke down. She never showed a sign of weakness. So I don't know how to show weakness, and other family members didn't help with my situation, always holding me to the highest standard possible when it came to sports and things like that. The people I love and appreciated the most, I'm grateful that they pushed me. I am. I don't think I'd be where I am in life without this drive that I've had, but I've never been able to enjoy any of it. Like I used to tell Steph all the time that I wasn't good enough for her, and she used to like yell at me, but truly in my mind, I didn't think I was deserving of such an amazing human being as her. So I'm on a lot of self-love journey from here on out. I need to realize that I don't have to try to be perfect to appease everybody. I just need to start making myself happy. And once I make myself happy, I think people will like me even more. So yeah, crazy how both nights, medicine not really working, really kind of opened my eyes to all that. So now we roll into the third night, and the third night was the really deep, heavy ayahuasca night. Again, I went into it with like, oh, fuck, I hope this works, I hope this works, I hope this works. I think I created too much expectation within myself. And again, I drank so much ayahuasca. The shaman was like, who's done thousands and thousands of ceremonies, was like, I've never seen someone handle as much as you did. It's crazy. So again, I'm laying there, the music's playing, the music's amazing, but I can't drop into that zone. And I just tried to accept it. I was like, you know what? It's trying to teach me something different, because as they say, the medicine works how it wants to work, not how you want it to work. So my biggest focus was just trying to focus on being present and just listening to the music, just enjoying it, and just taking it wherever the medicine would take me. And I have a mind that goes 100 miles an hour, and I'm constantly thinking about what I have to do, what needs to be accomplished. So me just sitting around and laying around, I cannot relax. I don't know how to. Every time my mind wandered, I would puke in my mouth and choke, like start choking. And it was like, at first I thought it was a couple coincidences, and I'm like, holy shit. I'd start thinking oh, I gotta do this for Dexter. I gotta do this for my travel. And then boom, puke in my mouth and start choking. And it was like the medicine just continuously reminding me to just live in the moment, forget everything else, just be here in the now and appreciate it. So again, a third night of medicine not really working, and it worked because that's one of my things. I can't sit around and watch TV. I can't watch a movie. I can't relax. I can't sit around and just hang out with Steph. If I was going to do that, I had to physically go to a restaurant and force myself to kind of be in that situation. I have no chill mode whatsoever. My mind's constantly going. I just feel like I feel like I'm letting myself down if I'm not continuously doing something. So yeah, we can talk about a fucking crazy breakthrough. So the next day, I purged that night. It was at the very, very end, which was strange. The ceremony was over, and I couldn't even get up to stand. That's how much I drank, was that physically, I was so wobbly that I couldn't even walk, but mentally I was clear as day. And so she brought me some toast and some bananas, and I ate. And all of a sudden I thought I was fine. I was getting ready to fall asleep. I lay down, and then it was just another one of those crazy, loud, violent purges that felt great after, and I passed out. And then the next day, our final day there, was using this amazing cactus called San Pedro. San Pedro is a very, very, very mild plant-based medicine, and comes from a cactus. You boil it down. Basically, the best way to explain this was you were so happy with just where you were in life, where you're at that very moment. The sun had never seemed so bright and so colorful. Leaves had never looked so beautiful. Wind never sounded so amazing. Fire at the fireplace just never looked so enticing. And it was just such a general state of well-being. Again, you're fully functional. There's no high. You can walk around. You can trek through the woods. But it makes you just appreciate the moment so much. So that last day was such an awesome experience, just hanging out with everybody, talking, and just feeling like nothing else mattered in the world but where you were at that moment. So that it was like a 12-hour long experience. The San Pedro is something that you can actually do every single day. You can macrodose it every single day if you want, or you can microdose it every day you want. And it's going to just totally increase a general sense of well-being and happiness. So yeah, then I woke up the next day, got on the road, headed back to LA, and just trying to digest everything. It's again, it's not like a light switch where you just flick it and you're going to automatically change, but it showed me a lot of things. It opened my eyes to why I am the way I am about a lot of things, and really laid the groundwork for me to work even harder at creating change. To, again, I think the most important thing for myself and for a lot of us is just to love yourself, and to let yourself know that you are enough. You're enough for yourself. You're enough for everybody else around you. We put so much pressure on ourselves to be better for other people, but we never put enough pressure on ourselves to be better for ourselves. And that's truly what I'm focusing on, because unless I can learn how to love myself, and unless I can learn how to receive better, I'm never going to be able to give as much as I truly can. So it's just about opening up emotionally more. And yeah, it's a whole new journey, a whole new ride for me. And there's a lot more work to do. And, I'm looking forward I'm going to try to get away to their retreat in Costa Rica, Rhythmia. I think I'm going to go with my clients for a week and do like 4 nights of ayahuasca out there, and just all this body work and stuff like that. But, again, I know people think it's crazy, but, it's been some of the most eye-opening experiences that I've gone through. And, just so grateful that path was shown to me. And, I see so much work for this in the medical field, with mental illness and stuff like that. You can get people to overcome addiction overnight, basically, with stuff like this, and with no negative side effects to the body, really. But yeah, amazing experience, and definitely looking forward to creating more. And I just want to be happy. That's the biggest goal out of all this. I'm never happy. And again, that goes back to those childhood issues of just feeling like you're never enough, like you're not even deserving of happiness. I used to fucking tell myself that I thrive in misery, that I'm my most happiest when I'm my most miserable. Literally, that's the fucking narrative I used to tell myself. And that's just fucked up. Like, I can't even allow myself to be happy. It's wild. And again, I didn't have the worst childhood in the world. Certainly wasn't the best by any means, like I said, my dad abandoned me, abandonment issues, shit like that. But like, I also don't know what being a kid is for the most part either. Every time I was with my dad was a horse trainer, worked on a farm. So whenever I was with him, it was just slave labor. I was at the farm at 6 a.m. to feed the horses and clean stalls and, unload trucks with bales of hay and truckloads of sawdust. And so my whole life was just work, work, work. And it was always trying to make him feel happy. And I remember I loved horses. I think they're the most beautiful, majestic things in the world. And I was a pretty fucking good rider. I placed third in the world at one point. And I remember I just hit a point that I said, fuck horses. Because that was the only thing that I could take away from my father that he cared about. So that was my way of getting back to him, was me stepping away from riding ever again would hurt him the most. But I took something away from myself that I love too. And it's crazy that I never thought about that until this week, until going away. I never thought about my dad not being there for me would create this feeling of an unworthiness, but if you really break it down and think about it, it's true. So, but I had so much love in my life too. My family, so much of my family was so loving and so supportive. I wasn't abused as a kid or anything like that. But everybody responds and reacts to different things, so next time you see someone that's, dealing with shit in their lives, it's, a lot of it's not on them, not in their control. It's shit that was engraved and hardwired from childhood that just carries on throughout adult life and torments them. And they live with their own demons, regardless of how cushy their life might have seemed to have been. So just to know it out there to all of you, to be easier on yourself, be kinder to yourself, be kinder to others, because we all go through some shit. And we don't take care of ourselves enough. We don't love ourselves enough. So off to the next. Let's see what life has in store for me. So, but I'm optimistic. I'm ready to be happy. I'm ready to create a new life for myself. And that drive for success will find different root meaning and root causes rather than just trying to prove my worth. I'll find that drive to continue to be successful in everything I do in life, but for all the right reasons. So thank you guys for listening in, and can't wait to share more with you.